Hi there again. I'm Jason. We are down a belay device, lost to the cliffs. That doesn't mean that we might not still need to function on our climb, and an auto-locking hitch can come in handy in a number of scenarios. Here are 3 to choose from. The first is the Garda Hitch. To tie it, we need 2 non-locking carabiners that are, ideally, the same model. We hang them oriented the same way, with the gates out and the working ends down. Now we clip the rope through both carabiners. Next, we take what will be the pull or brake strand and make a half twist with the free end on the inside, not the outside of the hitch, clipping it to the carabiner that is on the opposite side from the pull strand. Now, when the load strand goes slack, we can pull in the brake strand, but when the load strand loads the rope again, it pinches the 2 carabiners together along with the brake strand, capturing the progress. Notice we intentionally do not want locking carabiners with sleeves because those sleeves can get in the way of the carabiners pinching on the rope. Now, there are a number of downsides to this hitch. It creates a lot of friction, maybe an uncomfortable amount. It isn't using lockers, which, if you are putting a life on the end of that line, might be a deal breaker, especially since the carabiners aren't opposite and opposed. And it is really hard to lower the load. If we were hauling an alpine pack, a simple redirect might be fine to unweight the system so we can build a lower. But if we had a big weight on the load end, we'd basically have to create a system with mechanical advantage in order to unweight that load strand. Because of those downsides, I have not used the Garda Hitch to belay from the top with my partner's life on the other end. I have used it to ascend, as my adjustable clove hitch backup can limit the issues should the Garda Hitch fail, and I already have a leg loop I can use to unweight the hitch. But I would always choose a micro-traction or a belay device in guide mode first. So I think the Garda Hitch can make some sense as a one-off pack haul, like pulling a pack through a chimney or some such, as opposed to, say, a big wall haul system. Next up is the Lorenzi Hitch. Right off, we can use lockers, and any 2 HMS carabiners will do. We clip the rope through the first locker. Now we take what will be the brake strand, put a half twist in it, with the free end being on the outside of the hitch, and clip that twist into the same carabiner by rotating it the same direction as our original half twist. Now let's pull that rope up the spine, and we know we've done it right if we have one cross of the rope with the load strand on top. That same move has also exposed the spine side working corner of that carabiner. That is where we are clipping the second carabiner, that is behind both strands. We also want the gate on the brake strand side. That keeps the load on the spine, but it becomes much more important for a lower, as you'll see in a moment. Now we clip both strands through the second carabiner. We see that now the load strand is pinching the brake strand and is pulling the second carabiner down into the brake strand. Besides not needing 2 identical non-locking carabiners, we have the advantage of being able to lower this system under tension. To do that, we take a bight of rope from the brake strand that is the length we want to lower. We move it back up through the lower second carabiner. Now we thread the bight back through the upper carabiner, starting from the side the brake strand is on and moving towards the side the load is on. At this point, we give the brake strand a good tug to pop it, freeing it from the lower carabiner's pinch point. And then we pull the bight down, again, through the lower carabiner, also though between the strands. Another tug will pull the load strand off the brake strand, and we can release slack as we produce the lower. At the end of this process, we can give the brake strand another tug and the hitch will return to its locking setup. Back to my earlier point though, look what happens if we have the gate on the load strand side. As we lower, our releasing rope is sliding up and around the gate sleeve, potentially unscrewing it. But done right, we can perform a lower and immediately get back into auto-locking mode. So, with the ability to lock the entire system and convert from haul to lower, the Lorenzi is potentially an improvised belay system. I think the 2 major downsides are that if we did use this to belay from the top, as the second comes up and starts their clove, that first clip across the carabiner can defeat the auto-locking mechanism because the load strand can no longer press down on the brake strand. This is no different than a plaquette device, by the way, but we should be aware of it. Second, I think the novelty is an issue. It's one more thing to learn. It's probably unfamiliar, so could we mess it up? The third option then is the auto-locking Münter hitch, which is a slight modification to something we are much more likely to be familiar with. We start with our Münter. There are lots of ways to tie it. Here, I add a half twist to the rope with the brake strand on the carabiner spine side, and then make a clip. Then I take the brake strand across the load strand behind the carabiner, that is away from me, and then clip as I come back towards me. Now, pulling the brake strand, the tongue of the hitch will have the brake strand running through it. Now I want to take a carabiner and clip it through the tongue and around the load strand. Now we have a choice though. Here I'm making the clip of the load strand by moving from brake side to load side, but there are trade-offs. Moving from the brake to load side, the carabiner is going to tend to want to set up with the gate facing in, which is a bad thing as it could smack against the rock. Moving from load side to brake side, the carabiner is going to want to set up with the gate facing out, which is a good thing, but after we talk about lowering from this setup, we'll see an issue. If we want to be able to lower from this setup, we need to have first chosen our carabiners carefully. Hopefully we've used a very large locker for the original hitch and a very small locker for the auto-locking carabiner. We also probably want to add a friction hitch backup. Now we can unclip the blocking carabiner from the load strand, which will flip through the larger carabiner, and we can lower. That is all a bit tricky, so let's zoom in. I need to open the gate and get it past the load strand. Now I can sit into my friction hitch, which will help me raise the carabiner horizontally. This allows me to pull the spine towards me and get the rope past the nose. Finally, I can pull the working end down again until the load strand passes the open gate. Now, as we lower, the blocking carabiner will flip through the larger carabiner, but note it will fall all the way down the rope towards the following climber unless we catch it. If we go back to the other way of clipping this blocking carabiner, where the gate tends to set facing out, we can see the load strand is spine side of the carabiner, making it much harder to remove, and in some instances impossible to remove, as compared to having it gate side. So the auto-locking Münter is a bit fussy to move into lowering mode, but it's something much more familiar that has the security of being a tried and true belay method. So much so that Mark Chauvin and Rob Coppolillo in the Mountain Guide manual call this out as an option if you are belaying two climbers, so have two ropes, but dropped your plaquette device. Of course, we need two setups that won't interfere with each other. Ever dropped a belay device on a climb? What systems did you have to improvise? Tell us your story in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share if you want to support us. For more information, you can go to our website at www.shortguysbetaworks.com. If you like thinking about the pros and cons of systems, we've got a recent video on some considerations when using monolithic anchors. Or you can check out our entire rock climbing safety series. We'll see you next week and keep on getting more out of that big outside.